Previously in worship at Euless First United Methodist Church. Last week, in each service, we all said the Lord's Prayer twice. And one of those times, in one of those services, I forgot a line. That's right. I went straight from, give us this day our daily bread, to lead us not into temptation. May God have mercy on my soul. You may have caught it and you may not. You were gracious if you did catch it. And you all went on saying the Lord's Prayer the way you know it goes. So, thank you. So why did I do this, you might wonder. If you'd been here and caught my mistake, you might at first have thought, what happened? Did he forget the Lord's Prayer? Don't they teach that in seminary anymore? So here's the thing. Can I admit this to you? Sometimes I'm easily distracted. Sometimes, during things that I ought to just fly through, I start thinking, and thinking can be good, but it can be dangerous too. Because when I start thinking during something that's as automatic as you would think the Lord's Prayer is, it's usually about what's going to happen next in the service. Is it something I do, or do I sit down and somebody else gets up? Am I ready for it? Do I look up, or do I keep my head bowed? Is it something scripted, or is it something I have to come up with the words for? If so, what words will I use? Oh, what was that phrase I thought of this morning that would be perfect for this time of the service? Did I remember to pass that 8:30 prayer request on to somebody in the 11 o'clock service like I said I would? There are so many things to think of. But who would think of those things in the middle of a prayer, right? Woe is me, for I am undone. That's how King James's Isaiah put it in chapter 6, verse 5. The Common English Bible says, mourn for me, I'm ruined. So Isaiah wrote and said these words, but you and I know them well. I'm not the only one, am I, that ever gets distracted during prayer? There's so much going on. I don't know that there's more happening in the world right now, but I know we have increased awareness. And we're confronted from so many different angles than ever before. So this morning, I want to invite you not to be distracted. Squirrel! Rekindling a sense of wonder requires us to set distraction aside. I mean, nobody approaching the Grand Canyon is weighed down by the thought of, did I close my garage door when I left the house to come here? And when your team, okay, for most of us it's not our team, but imagine this happens. When your team snatches victory from the jaws of defeat as the clock expires, oh, I guess we did that, didn't we? Okay. The thought on your mind is not, did I wear the right shirt for this? To regain the kind of wonder that I believe we need to rightly celebrate the coming King, we need to regain the ability to live in the joy of the moment. Prophets like Zephaniah and John the Baptist knew this was true when they lived, and it might be even more true today. We have to be able to find joy in the moment. We are, all theologians agree, living in between the times. We live after God's kingdom began to appear on earth, and we know this because in Luke 17:21, Jesus said, God's kingdom is already among you, almost 2,000 years ago. Yet it's obvious to all of us that God's kingdom is not here in all its fullness. Sometimes these times feel darker than ever. So we live between the times. Some call this time of already, but not yet. Sometimes it takes just a tiny bit of bad news to ruin your whole day. So we need to regain the ability to find joy in the moment, because joy is here. It's among us. It's in us. When we don't let the darkness win, when we refuse to buy into bitterness, when we say no to negativism, then we can focus on the moments of joy that are available. If you haven't had any yet today, just give it a few minutes. I guarantee the cantata will present God in glimpses of glory for all of us to behold. Now, this is not to say that we ought to live in denial and pretend the negative doesn't happen, and devastating and horrific things happen all around us. And we all have mornings if we wonder whether we really ought to get out of bed at all. But we let those moments win when we deny that there are also moments of joy. And we're more easily distracted away from joy than we are away from calamity. I want to walk with you phrase by phrase through this morning's scripture readings to see that it was the intent of both of these prophets to offer glimpses of glory and moments of joy. But I'm going to leave that to you for homework. You have the references. Go and read. Take it home and read through it this afternoon or this evening, and imagine yourself with Zephaniah telling you, the Lord your God is a warrior bringing victory. He will create calm with his love. He will rejoice over you with singing. Listen to John the Baptist. You children of snakes. Wait. What? John the Baptist was the shock and awe of prophets. He followed the long tradition of Old Testament prophets, many of whom were performance artists before there was a term performance artists. John wanted to get people's attention, and he did. Now, he wanted their attention, but even more than that, he wanted them to know God, and in knowing God, for their hearts and lives to be changed. Did you catch this when Johnny read? When they asked what they should do in response, did you notice he did not give a single religious answer? The crowds came to him and said, "What should we do?" And he said, "Whoever has 2 shirts must give to the one that has none, and whoever has food must do the same." Even the tax collectors came, and they said to him, "Teacher, what should we do?" And he replied, "Collect no more than you're authorized to collect." The soldiers came and said, "What about us? What should we do?" And he said, "Don't cheat or harass anyone, and be satisfied with your pay." And Luke goes on to say that the people were filled with expectation, and everyone wondered whether John might be the Christ. This kind of expectation comes from being able to find joy in the moment and live in the moment. So I invite you to join me for the rest of our time together here this morning to breathe, to relax, to welcome God into your presence, because we've all been welcomed into God's presence. And let joy happen. Please pray with me.